USF 2000 drivers rolling down the pit lane here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to start what should be an exciting morning for the drivers here in the opening rung of this Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. All of them chasing a scholarship worth over $350,000 to make the move up into the Indy Pro 2000 category. 23 drivers total set to go here today. As these drivers roll in, we will get ready to do the driver introductions. A big field and a number of drivers making their first starts at USF 2000. Why not do it at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway? One driver qualifying on Friday and only running one race this weekend, wanting to keep his rookie status with a set number of races here before doing a full campaign next year. We'll talk about him a little later. But the rest of the drivers working their way in. Let's have a look at the grid right there on the screen now. The number 7 of Yeoru Lee, rookie driver, starting in the 23rd position for Jay Howard Driver Development. Moving into row number 11, his teammate Jorge Garcias from Mexico in the number 9 will start 22nd alongside Frankie Mossman in the number 6. A young driver making his debut as well. Top Carter here in North America. Mossman for Jay Howard Driver Development starting in 21st. Moving to row 10 on the outside, just 14 years of age, Danny Dzelski had to wait to start the season because he just wasn't 14 yet. That's the minimum age, so the number 8 for Jay Howard Driver Development starting the day in 20th. Inside of that row, another young driver that comes up through the karting ranks here in the United States, Chase Gardner out of Texas, talented driver with great pace in qualifying. He'll be in the 19th position, was in the top 10 yesterday before getting taken out by contact. Gardner in the number 13 for D-Force Racing starting in 19th spot. Row number 9 from New Zealand, Jacob Douglas for Exclusive Autosport in the number 9. He's starting in the 18th position. And on the inside for Joe Dueling Autosport and Curb Agajanian, Trey Burke in the number 63 will start in 17th. Working our way up now to row number 8 on the outside. From Avon, Indiana, Jackson Lee for Cape Motorsports in that number 2 machine starting in 16th. And on the inside from Sweden for Velocity Racing Development, a driver I think we should watch here now. Could work his way up into the top 10. Victor Anderson, the rookie in the 30, starting in the 15th spot. Moving to row number 7 on the outside, it's Nicky Hayes, a talented young American driver making his debut here in the Road to Indy this year with Cape Motorsports. He'll start in the 14th spot in the number 5. And on the inside of row number 7, Dylan Christie for D-Force Racing in the number 11 will start in 13th. We'll go now to row number 6, 11th and 12th. These drivers both from Turn 3 Motorsports, the team owned by Peter Dempsey. And if you're an Indy Lights fan, you remember that 4-wide finish where Dempsey came out of turn number 4 and beat everybody to the line to score the Freedom 100 victory. Turn 3 Motorsports for Peter Dempsey will have Spike Kohlbecker from St. Louis on the inside in the number 33, and the Illinois driver Christian Weir on the outside in the number 32. Both those drivers with an opportunity to go to the podium here today. Let's go to road number 5 now, starting just inside the top 10 driver who worked his way from 10th up into 3rd yesterday. Joined me in the PA booth as well from New Zealand, Billy Fraser in the Exclusive Autosport number 92 Corp machine. He will start in the 10th position alongside his young teammate. This is the driver I talked about before. Only running one race this particular weekend. He'll do one race on 3 weekends through the season to be able to keep his rookie status for next year. That's Joey Brienza in the number 91. Very impressive pace out of Joey Brienza, who is running in the FRP F1600 Championship for a second season this year. Up now into row number 4 on the outside will be Simon Sykes for Legacy Autosport. He has tasted victory here at Indianapolis before at the SCCA National Championship runoffs. He'll start in the 8th position alongside driver who came into the weekend as the point leader. 2 wins on the season, but an incident yesterday took him out early. Miles Rowe for Pabst Racing in the number 22, set to launch from P7. Up now to row number 3, Bajoy Garg had issues early and fell back. He will start in the number 12 machine for D-Force Racing in 6th. And on the inside of that row, a driver with a win already this year on the streets of St. Petersburg, Jace Denmark from Phoenix, Arizona in the 23, starting in 5th. We'll go to row number 2, and a young Canadian and a young American, both drivers back for another season here. Thomas Naveau, a winner last year at Road America for D-Force Racing in the number 10, starting 4th. And on the inside of the row, the driver who is currently in the 4th spot in points, he and Miles Rowe getting together yesterday. Last year's series runner-up, Michael D. Orlando from Hartsdale, New York, in the number 4, starting 3rd for Cape Motorsports. 23 drivers in total getting set to go green. From the outside of the front row, the driver that Michael Young and I just talked about from England, for Velocity Racing Development. Alex Quinn, unbelievably impressive yesterday, jetting away to a race victory. And as the engines fire down on pit lane, the driver starting on the pole. One win already at Barber Motorsports Park. He comes in as the point leader over Billy Fraser by 7 points, a name that is well known here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Jagger Jones, grandson of Parnelli and son of PJ, starting from the pole position today in the Cape Motorsports number 3. It'll be Jones and Quinn on row 1, D'Orlando and Naveau on row 2, Denmark and Garg row 3. Row 4 will see Rowe alongside Sykes, Brienza and Fraser on row number 5, Kohlbecker and Weir row 6, Christie and Hayes row 7, Anderson and Lee row number 9, Burke and Douglas row 10, Gardner, Dzelski, Mossman, Garcias, and Lee to cap off the 23 drivers as they pull off pit lane. And indeed, Michael Young talking to Jagger yesterday, he knows the history of the Jones name here, but as any young driver should, focused on what he's doing, the story he's trying to tell, his career, which I think is exciting.
Enough time has passed since his father raced here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and was involved in racing that this introduction to him in this USF 2000 series, a rekindling of sorts of the Jones name, but obviously that legacy, his grandfather winning in 1963 here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway,
right.
It's always around, but he has a great opportunity. It's not thrust into the limelight. With this Road to Indy ladder, he will be able to create his own legacy, potentially winning in each rung of this Road to Indy ladder, and that in and of itself will create his own history here at the Speedway and throughout open wheel racing.
And the great thing about Jagger is he has a unique story to tell. Came out of karting, was a champion karter, but instead of jumping right into an open wheel car, he elected to go stock car racing, did a bunch of late model stock car racing on the West Coast, and that's helped him on restarts. It's helped him on just to be able to handle high horsepower, a much different race car, but still the stresses, whatever it may be. 19 years of age with an opportunity to go after a championship this year. Regardless, he is focused on winning races. We asked him about this yesterday. Hey, you're running third. You're in a battle for Fraser. You're in the points championship. You know that Rowe and D'Orlando got together. Were you thinking championship? And he says, I never think about the championship. I think about race wins, and if I do that, the championship will take care of itself.
It's a long season, and indeed, as you said, and as Jagger had said, you can't think about championships this early in the season because you could end up at the back as far as maybe even 20th as a result. It still doesn't throw your championship hopes away.
You can always dig your way back, obviously, with race wins. If you dominate a race with fast lap of the race and the most laps led, all these bonus points lock up, and you never know what happens. Hey, Christian Rasmussen back in USF 2000 won the first 7 races of the year and then actually fell on his face here at Indianapolis, and then at Mid-Ohio, it got down to 3 points. He was able to win the championship, but you never know what will happen.
So the field makes their way around this 2.439-mile road course here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 14 turns make up this road course as the field starts to make their way through the south end of the track, and they make their way down the front straightaway. About to go green, race number 2 for the USF 2000 series.
2x2, 23 drivers set to go. Jagger Jones on the inside, Alex Quinn on the outside. Time to go racing with USF 2000. Green, green, green. Racing down into turn number 1. They'll all dive down to the wall on the inside, blocking that inside move. You want to cover down the bottom. Good run there as well for Alex Quinn. Here's a pop-out for D'Orlando. He's going to try the high side, outside the run. Couple drivers locking up on the inside. I think D'Orlando's going to come away with a spot. Indeed, he does. D'Orlando able to go around the outside of Alex Quinn, so make it a Cape 1-2. Out of 2 and 3, Jagger Jones leads. But look at this 2x2 through turns 3 and 4. Michael, this is when you hold your breath.
Indeed. Jagger Jones with a great start, though. And for Micro D'Orlando, Alex Quinn was tucked behind Jagger Jones. I thought he was going to pop out, but D'Orlando took advantage of the draft and was able to get himself in that second position. Field makes her way down Holman Boulevard to turn number 7.
Had some great races at Barber Motorsports Park going green to checker. We weren't able to do that yesterday. Drivers maybe a little cleaner here on the opening circuit, but Michael and I talked about the fact that you have to take care of your equipment in this opening race. These drivers right back at it. They'll be on the track once again at around 11 o'clock, so they really have to make sure that they don't have their crews working on machinery for the next couple of hours. Opening lap looking pretty good so far, and with a couple of teammates up front. They did this at Barber Motorsports Park as well, Jagger Jones and Michael D'Orlando. Good to have a teammate around you. Alex Quinn trying to back up his victory from yesterday. Otherwise, everyone's settling back in and getting this opening lap done. And once they do, Michael, we'll be able to go single file, and we'll see how the battles form from there.
Yeah, indeed. Yesterday was a disjointed race number 1, but race number 2 clean so far. The 10 and the 23, Nouveau and Denmark racing down that front straightaway. That is the battle for the 4th position, and that ensues into turn number 1.
Here's Nouveau going to the outside. Big lock up there for Jace Denmark, and he's going to have to take the cutoff. He went too hard in there, almost got into the back of Alex Quinn and Thomas Nouveau. Lucky enough to do that, but when you do take the cutoff, Michael, about 4 or 5 positions is what you're going to lose. You're not going to lose a ton, but that 4 and 5 for not being able to get through 1, 2, and 3.
I don't know if he even lost one. He got through there extremely quick. Here's the replay of that entrance into turn number 1.
Yeah, watch this big lockup. It'll be the right front, I believe, locking up. Yeah, they're hardcore right front. Almost takes out both of those drivers. But split-second decision-making for Jace. Do I try to make this corner? Do I come back in? Being told we are going full course yellow, so obviously wasn't that particular incident, but we may have an issue on the racetrack. The number 7 of Yeoru Lee, and it looks like coming onto the front straightaway here. There's Yeoru off the racetrack in full course yellow with Jagger Jones as the leader right now. Jones leads, D'Orlando second, Quinn in third indeed, Yeoru Lee in the number 7, the driver off coming through the final corner of the racetrack. Yeah, that's the setup for the final corner, and he is off track. Let's bring in our driver analyst. We talked to him yesterday. He's one of our USF Juniors drivers. USF Juniors, a development series using the Ligier race car that will get drivers ready to go for USF 2000. Elliot Cox from Sarah Fisher Hartman Racing. Great to have you with us back here again. First and foremost, what do you think of that opening lap?
It looked really clean to me. Other than what caused the full course caution, it looked way better than anything that happened yesterday in this race. Already everybody looks a lot more patient and a lot more ready to do some racing instead of what happened yesterday.
Yeah, here's the thing, Elliot, we had a couple of races for you for USF Juniors. Doubleheader at Ozarks, doubleheader at Barber Motorsports Park. Are you more comfortable in the second race of a weekend? I know you come into the first race, you really want to get things done. Is there just more of a relaxed nature maybe to race number 2?
The first race is definitely, it's a lot more stressful. You don't know really quite what your pace is yet, but when you come into the second race, you've already been through one. You know what your pace sort of is. You know what you need to gun for, and it's definitely more relaxed. You don't have the nerves coming into the race, and then just knowing that the pace that you have as well, it helps. Yeah,
you have that baseline, right? You know exactly how quick you can go. Ideally, you've made the car quicker into the second day. And Michael, I think we saw that there, a much more relaxed opening lap. Drivers giving each other a lot of room.
I think everybody is aware of the other drivers' style, especially at this Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They know what they can expect and what these drivers are going to do, where they will attack at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Again, Elliot Cox joins us. He is our driver analyst. I know you have a suite up here. You've been enjoying all the amenities of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but I talked to you briefly yesterday. Sometimes driving a golf cart doesn't lend itself to someone your age.
I was taking a few people from our suite around. They wanted a tour, and then I dropped them off in the pits so they could. I'm not old enough to go in there yet, but I dropped them off at the pits, and on my way back to the suite, I got pulled over, and they told me, "How old are you?" And I said, "I'm 14." And they said, "Well, you're going to have to call somebody to come pick you up because you're not allowed to drive this."
Oh, that's great.
We let him go 140 miles an hour in a USF Juniors race car, but he's not allowed to drive the golf cart around the Indianapolis
just
Motor
some
Speedway.
rules that we can't break. Just some rules we cannot break.
So here's a little learning experience for you. When somebody asks you how old you are, you say you're 16. Because I'm not lying.
That's great. I never forget Sage Karam when he qualified for the Indianapolis 500. He was standing on the pit wall taking a picture because he missed his prom, so he's taking a photo back. And, of course, the yellow shirts have to keep order down on pit lane. They're like, "Young man, you need to get off that lane." He's like, "I just qualified." "Nope, sorry, you got to get off." It was classic. But, yeah, we appreciate our yellow shirts. They do such a fantastic job out here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, we'll come to Elliot Cox throughout the race here. He'll join us for this opening race of the day for USF 2000, and we'll be back as well for Indy Pro 2000 in the afternoon. We look forward to potentially having Bianca Bustamante with us, another one of our USF Juniors drivers, also a driver of the W Series as well. Had a chance to make her debut in that program down at the Miami Grand Prix. just a week ago. So let's reset the grid here. Mike Jagger Jones up front. He got a great start, holding on to the position. His teammate Michael D'Orlando coming around the outside of Alex Quinn in turn number 1 on the green flag. So D'Orlando goes to second. Alex Quinn third. Miles Rowe up into the 4th spot. Thomas Naveau in 5th. Billy Fraser 6th. Jace Denmark able to come back into 7th. So actually didn't lose a position. Well, you're right. That's staggering to me. Normally you lose at least 3 spots having to go through the cut through. Simon Sykes in the 8th spot. Bajoy Garg in 9th. And Christian Weir in 10th.
Nice job by Miles Rowe. He's already up 3 positions. Billy Fraser up. He podium finisher yesterday, up 4 positions. So making some strides here in the opening couple of corners of this Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. 15-lap event today, and we are getting Lee removed from that turn 14 area, and hopefully we'll get back to green very soon.
You know, you mentioned Billy Fraser jumping up, started 10th yesterday, just so much full of confidence after what happened. Made a fantastic pass over in turn 7, 8, 9 at Barber Motorsports Park, got an over-under on Simon Sykes, probably pass of the weekend to go to second there. Had some trouble in race number 2 at Barber, but came back here, second year in the series. There's just a level of confidence for Billy right now, and just a more comfort with his team, more comfort being here in the U.S. You know, we talked a little bit about it yesterday. Here's a kid from New Zealand, came over all by himself to the U.S. to race last year. This year, Dad came over with him at the start of the season. They're literally going around the circuit in a 28-foot trailer, pulling it behind the truck and staying at the track, staying at campgrounds, near racetracks, whatever it may be. Just a really unique story for Billy Fraser, and it's all paying off. This kid definitely a championship contender on the podium again yesterday.
Potentially seeing more of the United States than we'll ever see. I mean, That's a good way to do it, to get out and good family time, good bonding time, and we welcome him to the United States and wish him all the best in the remainder of this race. A great run yesterday. Gets a little bit better in qualifying, certainly a contender for some wins.
Well, and again, it's like we said, maximizing those Cooper tires in qualifying, but at a track like this, maybe not even that. I talked to Yuvan Sundaramurthy in the pre-show that we had here on Road to Indy TV, and it was just not able to get that particular toe, right? So in qualifying, you want to have open racetrack, but if you just happen to get that little toe coming down the straightaway on your flyer lap, it could help, and he just did not get that, and that's how tight it is. It's not like we're talking that he was 2 seconds back. He was 0.4 of a second back, qualified 4th instead of qualifying up top. Jagger Jones a 1:25.4 fast lap. Billy Fraser 1:26.1, so 6 or 7/10 of a second that particular session. The second fastest lap of the qualifying session is what set the grid for race number 2 today. But again, drivers, single file restart, get themselves going, and I expect we'll go green momentarily.
Yeah, we saw Euro Lee's vehicle being, the car being towed back out of turn number 14. Had a little bit of issue trying to get that hooked up and out of the way so we can go back to green flag racing. We will await the field to make their way through the north end of the track down Holman Boulevard, and we expect to see green this time by.
Jones, D'Orlando, Quinn, Rowe, Naveau, Fraser, Denmark, Sykes, Garg, and Weir, the top 10. Jagger Jones comes into this second race as the point leader by 7 markers over Billy Fraser. Miles Rowe, a further 5 points in arrears. Michael D'Orlando, 3 back from him. There's a Yeru Lee coming in here still, so it took a bit of time to get Yeru handled. And hopefully we'll go back to green when they roll back around here. But, again, Jagger Jones with that point lead has the momentum right now. There is an opportunity, of course, to score another podium, maybe another race win. This season starting to shape up, Michael. Normally we see rookies kind of come on midway through the season. Jagger Jones out of the gate pretty strong.
But yesterday we saw drivers in the championship hunt making mistakes,
yeah,
which obviously will not kill the championship hopes, but that certainly shuffled things into today. So that allowed Jagger Jones to put himself in a much better position in this championship hunt for 2022. Field makes their way out of the final portion of the track, just now making their way into turns number 12, 13, and 14. As they make their way through the final 3 turns, we will expect to see a restart. The USF 2000 Series, the first rung of this Road to Indy ladder. The future stars of open wheel racing making their way, and we see Jagger Jones getting a good jump thus far. Field back up to speed as they make their way down the front straightaway, expecting green this time by.
Jones hard back into the throttle. Green flag flying here at start finish. The Cape Motorsports drivers dialing right in. Let's see if D'Orlando goes for it. Indeed he does. Tucks back, Big draft down into turn number 1. Restart, you're almost a sitting duck from P1. And indeed, D'Orlando's going to go around the outside. Book it. He's through to take the lead. D'Orlando goes to P1. Jones slotting back into second, and another driver's off. That is the number 10. That's Thomas Naveau, who has gone off in turn number 1, but he has been able to continue. So Naveau refires and continues back, but a tough one for the driver who's 8th place in points right now, as he's going to tumble to the tail of the field. We'll try to find out what happened to Thomas Naveau. He was running P5 going into turn 1 there to start on that restart, Michael.
Alex Quinn and Miles Rowe were battling for that 3rd position. Naveau were tucked in right behind him. Don't know if he just locked it up, but that's unfortunate because he was running 5th and now will fall to the back of the field.
Scrap through that middle part of the racetrack, that 7, 8, 9, 10 complex. Here's the replay here as they're coming down. Keep an eye back on the number 10. He's kind of trying to get away from the 22 a row a little bit. Oh, they went 3 wide into the corner. Yeah, that just wasn't going to happen. 3 wide in the corner. I believe Denmark was on the inside there, Rowe in the middle, and Naveau on the outside. He's turning in thinking he's got lots of room, and Rowe's in the middle with nowhere to go because he's got somebody else on the inside of him. That's just an unfortunate racing incident as people stack things down into what is a very narrow entry into turn 1.
Alex Quinn had cleared that battle, so that is why we saw the Naveau machine drop to the back of the field, but it's Michael D'Orlando who will lead the field down as we complete lap number 6 of 15.
Michael D'Orlando, winless on the season so far, runner-up in the USF 2000 Championship last season. So you can be sure, there's a deep move for Simon Sykes as he goes to the inside of Christian Weir. Deep move into 1, and Sykes trying to get himself back up here. Started 8th, has now got back to 8th. He fell a couple of spots. Not a good opening lap after the restart for Simon Sykes. You can see a bunch of those J. Howard driver development cars scrapping further back. Jorge Garcias, Danny Dzelski, and Frankie Mossman scrapping it out there for 19th, 20th, and 21st. Cape Motorsports teammates taking care of each other so far, Michael. D'Orlando and Jones. Jones kind of running that blocker, right, in the back a bit there, as kind of being the wingman for D'Orlando here early in the run. And remember, we're 7 laps into 15 laps. The number of yellow laps, we got 3 full yellow flag laps, but we're only to the halfway point here. There's lots of racing still to come. This is where that patience has to come back into play.
Yeah, we'll see if Naveau can work his way back through the field. I think I saw him making a couple of moves trying to work his way back, and obviously not an opportunity to get back in the top 10, but we shall see. We'll hopefully keep our fingers crossed and see no chaos up front, but it's Michael D'Orlando with a 2-car length advantage over Jagger Jones. Field makes her way down that front straightaway. Then Alex Quinn, Miles Rowe, Billy Frazier. They round out your top 5 as the field makes her way to 1.
Let's come back a bit here to Elliot Cox and ask a little bit about mid-race strategy. Elliot, you're mid-race. You're getting settled back in again. You got your P2. What is the strategy then? Are you going to work potentially on trying to learn more about the guy in front of you?
Normally, for me, if I'm sitting P2 mid-race, I'm just trying my best to catch up to him and pass him. But definitely while you're behind them, you can try your best to learn about their driving style, where you can capitalize on where they're making mistakes even, and just try to figure out where you can pass them if you catch up to them, and then pray that you do.
That's it. You got to catch them to get them first. But again, strategy, Michael, you're trying to find out where you're faster. You're watching their race lines. Are they having a particular trouble maybe in one corner? Is there a lockup here and there? You have to go and think about doing the research. Where potentially am I quicker, especially on this particular racetrack?
And I think the difference between yesterday and today is we have a lot of green flag racing. Yesterday it was just restarts, get them when you can. Well, today you can actually see where there are weaknesses in the driver in front of you, and if you have to defend with somebody behind you. But right now, Michael D'Orlando with a pretty nice lead over Jagger Jones. Alex Quinn right there in that 3rd position. Then Miles Rowe, Billy Frazier rounding out the top 5. Field makes her way off of turn 14, but it looks like Alex Quinn may have a run on Jagger Jones.
Yeah, here comes the draft down the straightaway. Let's see if Quinn gets enough to be able to make a move by D'Orlando as they come down into turn number 1. D'Orlando not running any kind of defensive line. In fact, all the drivers running the big race line right up against the wall to give you the best turn in through turn number 1, 2, and 3. One driver in the pit lane right now, the 32 of Christian Weir for turn 3 Motorsport. We talked about the contact between he and Simon Sykes, wondering whether or not that potentially was terminal for Weir. Luckily, he'll be able to come back and do it all over again later here this morning when our 3rd race of the triple header comes in. Christian Weir entering the day 7th in points. How far back? Just 1 point behind Simon Sykes. The two guys that got together were battling for 6th and 7th in the championship points as well. Otherwise, D'Orlando, 0.6 of a second last time by. One driver to watch for has moved his way up is Chase Gardner, the driver from Texas, as I had talked about, running in the number 13. Prosper, Texas, the hometown for Chase Gardner. A little bit of F4 experience, a lot of karting experience as well. And there's a shot there of Christian Weir. They're going to work on the right front, so some suspension damage likely for Weir. Not sure whether or not they'll get him back out on track. But Chase Gardner, who started back in the 19th position, has worked his way up into 11th now on the racetrack, up 8 positions since the start, and up 6 since that lap 6 restart. I'll tell you, here's a guy that's running one weekend this year, Chase Gardner. I think they're testing the waters ahead of what will be likely a full season next year. He'll test throughout the season to prepare for 2023. But when you come to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, qualify like he has, and then show racecraft, this is a thing that team owners like to see. Chase Gardner's the guy they're going to be watching. As a driver has gone off, we have another driver who's overcooked it.
Might have been Chase Denmark.
And you will remember, if Denmark locked those brakes up, it doesn't take much to lock a tire up again.
So we talk about these drivers with these one-offs setting up for a rookie campaign. Want to make sure that they only run those 4 races. They don't want to do too many races so they lose that rookie status. What racetracks do they go to after Indianapolis? Where do they run throughout the season?
In terms of our series itself or testing? The series itself, obviously, in 2 weeks, we're at Lucas Oil Raceway, which is back to being called Indianapolis Raceway Park. We'll all battle going back and forth on that. But back to IRP. From there, we head to Road America, which is always a favorite of all of our drivers. We got Mid-Ohio coming up as well. We got Toronto. We're going back to Toronto, which should be super exciting. And the finale for this year actually will take us back out to the West Coast. We're going to Portland International Raceway. That'll be the finale for Indy Pro 2000 and USF 2000. We'll have our banquet there. But lots of racing still to get done. And for a driver like Chase Gardner, Joey Brienza doing the same thing, Frankie Mossman, hey, if you're going to do a couple of one-offs, get a chance, the month of May at Indianapolis is where you want to be.
So Miles Rowe and Billy Fraser, the best battle is Fraser, all tucked up underneath the rear wing of Miles Rowe. That battle ensues down into turn number 1. We'll see if indeed he can get a run and take over that 4th position. They're side by side.
Here comes Fraser to the inside. Book it. He'll take the spot and able to cover up on the exit as well. Billy Fraser now up into the 4th position. What a run it's been so far for Billy Fraser. Unbelievably impressive, starting 10th in the opening race, fought his way up into 2nd. A penalty dropped him down to 3rd for contact, but he's done it again, worked his way up to P4. A strong run to the inside of turn number 1, a textbook pass, Michael, here at Indianapolis. The draft, make the move to the inside, and then make sure there's no over-under. Break enough, cover off that over-under on the exit of 1.
And that was in about 2 laps in the making. You could see him setting up Miles Rowe the last 2 times by and just got that great run down this front straightaway, tucked up underneath that rear wing, able to get that slipstream going, popped out in a textbook pass, as you said. Yeah,
and up into P4 for Billy Fraser in the exclusive Autosport Corp A number 92, the Kiwi driver showing so well here this year. Consistency throughout the start of the season. Podium as well at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, a podium at Barber, and again a podium here already here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So he's getting the job done. But again, the guys up front are the ones who are really dominating so far. D'Orlando, Jones, and Quinn. 1, 2, 3. Michael D'Orlando trying to break the goose egg on the year and get that victory. But here comes his teammate, Jagger Jones, looking down to the bottom of the racetrack. Oh, side by side. They are going at it. And Alex Quinn, a very interested spectator, P3.
I was watching Michael D'Orlando. I saw his head turn left and right, trying to see where his teammate Jagger Jones was going to go. Left the door open briefly for a moment, but able to hold on to that lead position. But as you said, Alex Quinn just sitting there. He's like, okay, boys, you can dice it up if you want, but I'll take over the lead if you two make contact.
It's interesting. We talked to a couple of drivers yesterday that saw races happening in front of them and kind of backed, almost checked up a little bit in turn number 7. Yuvan Sooner Murthy said he watched the 2 drivers from D-Force Racing, Nolan Siegel and Kiko Porto. They were going at each other, and he said, I literally checked up a bit into 7 to make sure I'd have an ability to make the move. They get together on the exit of 7. He slides through and gets 2 free spots. That's what Quinn's doing right now. He's kind of getting a feel for this. He's got the draft down the straightaway. He's wondering what these guys are doing up front, but he's got to watch out because look how close Billy Fraser and Miles Rowe are closing up here right now. Top 5 drivers separated by less than 2.5 seconds. It's probably even tighter now.
This time by, there will be 3 to go, and you can see Jagger Jones, Alex Quinn starting to set their sights for that lead, taking it away or trying to take it away from Michael D'Orlando. They make their way down the front straightaway, 3 to go.
Big draft again for Jagger Jones in that number 3, but a little more breathing room, I think, for D'Orlando this time. Look at this. Deep on the brakes. They got together. Contact, and they've got together. The leaders have hit. Jagger Jones locked the brakes up, got into the back of D'Orlando, who's now going to have to take the cutoff. He spun all the way around. You saw the big draft. We are going to have a look at the replay when it comes, but Jagger Jones just so deep into the brakes. Look at him on the draft here. Big toe into the braking zone. Moves the car a bit to the right, then comes back to the left and just can't get it wound up. Drives right into the back, nose onto the gearbox. Around he goes, and Alex Quinn gets the Christmas present. Down to the apex of 1. He goes to the lead. Billy Fraser trying to attack as well. Let's see if Fraser is able to get by. But I'll tell you, as the leader, again, we saw teammates do it yesterday, and again today, that's just a little error there for the rookie Jagger Jones.
That was all on Jagger Jones as we see Michael D'Orlando trying to make his way back through the field. But, yeah, Jagger Jones was completely out of control. Once he locked him up, there was no way he was going to keep from hitting his teammate Michael D'Orlando. And, unfortunately, Michael had to run into the runoff area, so he loses a couple of positions as he spun in turn number 1.
And then so you spin and lose positions, and then you got to go back to the cutoff. That was a double whammy for Michael D'Orlando, losing a ton. And this is late in this race as well. Quinn's across the line. We'll press the reset button. New leader Alex Quinn, who is P3, looking to go back-to-back here. Here comes a move for second. Billy Fraser. Oh, and let's make it 3 wide into turn number 1. Miles Rowe thinking about it as well, but he'll go on through. Billy Fraser to second. Miles Rowe to third. And there is Jagger Jones back into the 4th spot. This is a fight because bring Jace Denmark back up here as well, and Denmark gets around. I wonder if there's some potential wing damage, front wing damage for Jagger Jones because he lost a couple of spots there through 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, that contact might have messed up that front wing. He clearly has lost some type of downforce on the front of that car, unable to really make it work and make it stick. Clearly, some understeer, I would imagine, for that car as we see him locking him up into turn number 7. But what a move for Alex Quinn. As you said, it was that Christmas present. Then you see Fraser making the move, Miles Rowe, and we still have a lap to go. We'll see the white flag this time by.
Michael D'Orlando falling back to 7th position after the contact. Spun in turn number 1, had to go take the escape route to get back out on the racetrack. Probably lost a couple more positions there. So a potential victory going by the wayside for the driver coming into this race 4th in points. Jagger Jones, Billy Fraser, they were 1st and 2nd. Right now, Fraser, who's gone to P2, looking to potentially work his way forward here now. Looks like you have a driver potentially having some trouble over in turn number 7. That's the Joe Dooling car of Trey Burke off in turn number 7. White flag flying this time by. Quinn the leader. Fraser with some gap on Miles Rowe. Rowe back up into 3rd after the incident yesterday. Again, a driver struggling to get the budget to continue the season. Trying to get back on the podium here. Jace Denmark 4th. Bajoy Garg 5th. And who's falling down the order? Jagger Jones falling down the order, and he's in the pit lane. So both drivers involved in that incident going to fall to the tail of the field, and both those drivers in the top 4 in points. Jones was the point leader coming in.
Certainly not going to hurt their race 3 potential. Not a lot of damage, but, boy, certainly a big dagger into this race number 2 and potential points gone to the wayside.
And it didn't look like Alex Quinn was going to be enough to get the win today as the Cape drivers were 1-2, but he gets the gift, as we said. He leads in the final circuit here for USF 2000. Look at the gap that he has. Fraser trying to hold off Miles Rowe here as well, as it's Quinn, Fraser, Rowe, Denmark, and Garg. Final time through turn number 12 for the British driver, Alex Quinn.
Alex Quinn, welcome to the United States of America. And the Indianapolis Motor Speedway had race number 1 win yesterday, and looks like he is going to win race number 2, going away from the rest of the field.
Out onto the front straightaway, and again, across the yard of bricks, back-to-back jacks for Alex Quinn as he wins the 2nd race, the USF 2000 Grand Prix of Indianapolis, brought to you by Cooper Tires, and what a victory. And that's back-to-back for Velocity Racing Development as well. They get their first Road to Indy victory yesterday, Dan Mitchell's squad, and they'll do it again here today. Quinn, 2 wins. Billy Fraser back on the podium in second. Miles Rowe third. Jace Denmark in fourth. Michael D'Orlando on those last couple of laps, elbows up for sure, fights his way back into fifth. Spike Kohlbecker in sixth. Bajoy Garg seventh. Nikki Hayes eighth. Simon Sykes in ninth. And Chase Gardner all the way from deep in the field. He gets himself from 19th up into 10th. That's a great run for the young Texan.
And we will see race number 3 just a little bit after noon today. It's a very, very busy race morning. Been a lot of fun thus far. And wow, what a great run by Alex Quinn. That time wasn't race strategy. It was patience that got him the race victory.
Yeah, he had to really work hard to be able to get the victory yesterday, make some passes and pull away. But I'm telling you, the excitement that we had in this one, unbelievably thrilling. Ups, downs, highs, lows, and unofficially, as they come into the end of this race, Billy Fraser will take over the point lead from Miles Rowe. 117 points for Billy Fraser, 112 for Rowe, 108 for Jones, and 105 for D'Orlando. Unofficial, of course, but just 12 points separating Michael the top 4.
Well, we will do some celebrating. Rob Howden will make his way over to the victory podium, and we will salute Alex Quinn, Billy Fraser, and Mr. Miles Rowe, as they are our top 3 finishers in the USF 2000 race number 2. It is race day, and we welcome you, race fans, to the racing capital of the world. Again, our thanks to Elliot Cox for joining us, our race strategist today, able to come in and share his thoughts. We appreciate you. Best of luck with the remainder of 2022 for you, and hopefully we'll see you down the road here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Thank you for having me. It was a blast.
There you go. Rob, thank you as always, and we'll see you here at Indy Pro 2000, getting set for their second race as well. Again, race day. I'm Michael Young along with Greg Rakestraw. You are welcome and happy to have you here. It's the racing capital of the world. More to come at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Open up the champagne, pop. It's my house, come on, turn it up. Hear a knock on the door and the night begins. Cause we've done this before, so you come on in.
To present him with his trophy for Miles Rowe, coming home in the 3rd spot, Chris Pantani from Cooper Tires. And again, Miles Rowe for Pabst Racing, finishing in the 3rd position in the second race of USF 2000 here on this weekend in Indianapolis. Driver has worked his way up into the P1 position here. Another solid drive from deep in the field. Started in 10th spot. Back up onto the podium once again for Exclusive Autosport from New Zealand. P2, Billy Fraser. Fraser in second. And to present Billy with his second place trophy, the CEO of Anderson Promotions, Mr. Dan Anderson. 117 points for Billy Fraser, taking the point lead. Consistency on the weekend so far. 2 podiums for Billy Fraser. Yesterday, drove his way to the race win. Today, got a little bit lucky, but was there where he needed to be. Another victory for Velocity Racing Development, and the winner today, Alex Quinn. Alex, yesterday you drove to the race win, obviously. You got it done. Today you were kind of biding your time, and I was wondering if you were kind of back there saying, I'm waiting for these 2 guys to get together. Was that a thought?
Yeah, I mean, I had my engineer down on the radio, and he was sort of counting me down the laps. I could see them getting closer and closer, and I was like, something's going to happen here. And I was just, I didn't know what, but I was waiting, ready to pounce. And fortunately, something did happen, and I pounced through. But it might have been close in the last few laps anyway.
Obviously, a victory yesterday, very big for you, but another one here today. This weekend just going your way.
Yeah, I got the pressure now to make it free for free, so got to get the job done now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hop up on top there. Alex Quinn from Velocity Racing Development will bring Chris Pantani back out with another trophy. Alex coming over from England. This program came together just about a week ago for him to come to be part of this event with Velocity Racing Development and their new collaboration with Arden Motorsports, a top racing program over in the UK. And to get Alex to come here to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, obviously no expectation of what he was able to do, not having tested our USF 2000 Tatis car, but he has excelled on both the Tatis car and these Cooper tires and gets another victory here. 2 wins, back-to-back jacks for Alex Quinn. But again, the seasoned work being done by Billy Fraser has moved him to P1 in the championship standings. Miles Rowe back into second, an incident yesterday, but he fights back to the podium as well. It's been a great season so far for Miles Rowe, and here's our young driver right now that is doing whatever he can to continue his aspirations of running the entire season. Does not have the full budget right now, but they are doing the best they can to try to get him from race to race to make sure that Miles still has an opportunity to race for this championship. Nonetheless, a tremendous drive for Alex Quinn. Was biding his time back there in third, watching the 2 Cape drivers, Jagger Jones and Michael D'Orlando, swap the lead out front. And eventually the contact between Jones and D'Orlando, taking both those drivers out in turn number 1 and passing the lead over to Alex Quinn, the Velocity Racing Development driver. 2 wins on the weekend so far. And like he said, pressure mounting to potentially go 3 for 3 to sweep the weekend. Champagne, of course, getting ready to come in here. They'll celebrate as they do. They won't want to be spraying themselves. They're going to be back in the race car in about maybe 2 hours' time. So I don't expect them to hose each other down. Otherwise, time to enjoy ourselves here in Victory Lane, the traditional champagne spray. More racing to come. Indy Pro 2000, less than 20 minutes away from going green as well.